Can the New York Jets pull the upset over the Minnesota Vikings? We're going to talk about it. Hey, what's going on? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today I'm previewing the New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings. Before we get started today, I just wanted to mention where you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please check out the Just Jets pod wherever it is that you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every single Wednesday. It's the 7-4 New York Jets with Mike White going up against the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings, a high-powered, high-throwing offense versus a New York Jets defense that is pretty electric. Here's the DVO ratings. The Jets are 19th. The Vikings 20th in DVOA. I was a little surprised by that with the amount of passing yards that they put up, but that's how they have it. Defense, the Jets are 4th. The Minnesota Vikings are 23rd. For our Mojo Spotlight, who else but Mike White going to get shown some love here? He is up 31.18% since his monster performance this past weekend. Does he have another good performance in him against a team that really struggles against the pass? Now might be the time to get in on him. And oh, by the way, of course, Justin Jefferson continues to go up, the best wide receiver in football. More on him in a little bit, but his Mojo stock is going up as well. Okay, so Justin Jefferson, we just mentioned him. He is obviously someone who you are going to circle on that Minnesota Vikings offense in this matchup. The Sauce Gardner versus Justin Jefferson matchup should be a lot of fun. Now, it's not going to be 100% like Darrelle Revis days where he's going to shadow Justin Jefferson. That's not how they run. It's going to be him on one side, DJ Reed on the other, and they'll just play it like how they always do. And there might be help. I would probably advise for help over the top, but Justin Jefferson, obviously they played 11 games. In 8 of the 11, he has gone over 98 yards, 98 plus yards in 8 of 11 games. He's gone over 100 yards 7 times. They've won all but once since he's gone over 100 yards. So the key is shutting him down, and you tend to shut down the rest of the offense. Now, Sauce Gardner, can he do it? Is he up for the challenge? I think so. This is the defensive rookie of the year, at least in my eyes, that we're talking about here. He's allowed just 239 yards, 1 touchdown allowed, and hasn't allowed over 50 yards since week 3 against the Cincinnati Bengals. He has 14 passes defended, which is the most in the NFL. He is an absolute stud out there on the football field. While obviously the wide receivers are going to take a ton of attention, someone the Jets can't let beat them is TJ Hawkinson, who obviously was acquired right before the trade deadline from the Detroit Lions. He might be a little bit of a pest. He's been heavily featured since the trade, having at least 5 catches in every game he's played as a Minnesota Vikings tight end. So you're going to need Jordan Whitehead, and you're going to need Quan Alexander to be on their games, because those are going to be the ones who are more than likely going to be covering the tight end. We've seen in the past Sauce Gardner take some reps against a tight end, so maybe we see that against Hawkinson a little bit. Who knows? We're going to have to keep a close eye on that, but there are other weapons than just Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and obviously Dalvin Cook, who is one of the league's better rushers, but the Jets' run defense outside of last week against Chicago has actually been pretty good so far this year. So I'm not overly concerned. I just don't want to get beat through the air by Jefferson. I think that's your biggest concern in this game. And they're going to score. Like, you're not going to hold this team to 0 points. They're probably going to get 17 plus points. It's just how good their offense is. And you just have to contain it and do enough defensively, which I think they've proven that they can do just that. Now, can the Jets get pressure on Kirk Cousins? I think yes. They are 5th in the NFL with a 38% pressure rate, and they don't blitz at all. And the interior of the Minnesota Vikings, the offensive line, is a little bit of a weaker spot. So enter Quinnen Williams, who seemingly gets a sack every week, it feels like. He has been dominant in the middle of that defense, on that defensive line, and I think he has the potential to have a big day. John Franklin Myers as well has been playing really good football, and how could you forget Bryce Huff off the edge, and Carl Lawson, who's been steadily very good. He has 5 sacks so far on the year. Started a little bit slower, but has been coming on strong over the last few weeks. The pass rush, I think, can get in there and disrupt Kirk Cousins. And we've seen at times Cousins get a little interception prone against some better defenses this year. He threw a couple of picks against the Buffalo Bills. Now, he went on and won the game, but he did throw a couple interceptions in that one. He threw 3 picks against the Philadelphia Eagles. So if the Jets can force turnovers, something that they're pretty good at, then that should really help them with the extra possessions to maybe steal this game. Offensively, my question is, are we going to see a Mike White show 2.0? Because the Minnesota Vikings really struggle against the pass. They've allowed the most passing yards against. So what are we talking? 700 passing yards for Mike White? I'll get to his stat prediction in a second here, but I think the Jets will be able to attack through the air, but time of possession is also important. So Michael Carter is going to be a little bit banged up this week, and there's a chance that he won't be good to go, but Bam Knight ran the ball incredibly well. So you might see a Bam and Ty Johnson 1-2 punch, which obviously was not the plan. You thought it was going to be Breece and Michael Carter for this year, but you could survive it, I think. The Jets' run blocking is just that good that they could insert some of those guys and get that kind of production from the running backs. And you got to love what Bam Knight showed you last week. I think he could have potential as well on the ground this week. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to go through the New York Jets stat predictions. Mike White, I'm sure you're going to have your own thoughts on Mike White. I want to hear them. Drop your stat predictions and score predictions in a little bit down below in the comments. I have White going 22 of 32 for 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. So around 8 yards per attempt, not all the way up to the 11 yards per attempt, but that's still a really productive day out of the quarterback against a good football team. Yes, their defense isn't great, but I think Mike White should absolutely be around 250 passing yards, throw a couple of touchdowns, and I think right around 30, maybe 35 passes at the most is all it's going to take in this one. Again, I think you're going to want to run the football a little bit more than maybe some might think. So yes, you can exploit that poor pass defense, but I don't think it's going to be like another 300 or 400 yard game. If it is, great. I mean, obviously you want the Jets quarterback to throw for that many yards. I'm going to go a little on the modest side and say right around 250, 2 touchdowns and a pick. As for Garrett Wilson, I'll put him at 4 catches, 67 yards, and another touchdown. He's going to be going up against Patrick Peterson, who is, pretty good. Outside of that, their pass defense isn't very good, but Patrick Peterson, I think, is going to be okay there. And my other prediction, hot take for you, Denzel Mims gets his first career touchdown. How about that? We had Elijah Moore break out of his slump, catch a touchdown pass last week. This week, it's going to be Denzel Mims getting in the end zone. There's my hot take. So it's time for the pick segment against the spread. The Jets are 3-point underdogs going on the road in Minnesota. Can they cover that number? I am 6-5 against the spread picking games for the New York Jets, and I am picking the Jets to cover this one. Jets +3, and guess what? I think the Jets win outright as well by a score of 24-20. I think it's going to be a back and forth kind of game, a lower scoring game than some might anticipate. Obviously, Minnesota has this high-powered offense. They put up over 30 points against Buffalo, but this Jets defense hasn't allowed teams to go over 20 points pretty much the whole way, just about. Early on in the year, it was a little bit rough against the Bengals and against Baltimore and the Browns. The Cleveland Browns was that game in between the three there. But other than that, you gave up 20 points to Pittsburgh, and there was a pick 6 in that game. You also had a 22 points given up to the New England Patriots, and they were gifted field position off of 3 turnovers. So the defense has done its job, and I think the Jets offense should be able to do enough. Is 24 points amazing? No, but that you're going to win a lot of football games if you're able to score 20 to 25 points with this Jets defense. I think they get it done today. Let's see what Casey likes this week. Casey is on the Jets +3 as well. She is 7-4 against the spread, so we'll see if we both advance there. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary. I'll talk to you next time.